What is up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. If you don't already know me, my name is Ayman and I run the page The Frag Stop here on YouTube as well as on TikTok and Instagram. Today I have a very special video. I am going to be trying to rate and review every single fragrance in my entire collection. And I have a lot of fragrances. I have around 90 or so fragrances. So this is going to be a pretty long video. So grab a coffee, get some food, get a drink, and please enjoy. I'm not going to go in any particular order. I'm just going to be taking the fragrances off my shelf and talking about them, quickly reviewing them, rating them, and talking about whether I recommend it or not. And with that being said, let's get straight into it with my first fragrance house or fragrance brand, and that's Christian Dior. So in front of me, I have every single Dior fragrance that I own. I have 7 of them, and we're going to get started with my favorite one, and that's the Old Dior Homme Parfum. Now this stuff is absolutely magnificent. It's a masterpiece and will forever be in the Hall of Fame of fragrances. I was really sad when this stuff got discontinued, and I did buy a backup bottle because of how good this stuff is. But to put it simply, it's some iris with some leather, some oud, and it just smells so beautiful, so masculine. Definitely a 10 out of 10 fragrance in my opinion, and something I definitely recommend you get before you can't anymore. Next, we're going to move on to its younger brother, and that's Dior Intense. Now this one is a lot more wearable. It has that same beautiful buttery smooth iris as Dior Homme Parfum, but without the leather, without the oud. This sort of has like a cacao note in my opinion. It's sweeter and a lot more versatile than Dior Homme Parfum, and a bit more elegant because of how inoffensive it is. So another very beautiful iris fragrance. Definitely recommend this one. Give it a 9 out of 10. Next, we're going to move on to Dior Sauvage Elixir. Now, when I was younger, I absolutely loved this stuff. I still do. I just think it's a little bit more obnoxious to wear nowadays because of how strong this stuff is. But the DNA is beautiful. It's spicy, it's sweet, and I think is the best Sauvage flanker. So I do recommend this if you're a younger guy, but be careful with the sprays because this stuff is super strong. Give this a 8 out of 10. Next, we're going to move on to a fragrance from the private collection, and that's Vanilla Diorama. And hear me when I say that if you love vanilla, then you really need to get your hands on this fragrance because it smells absolutely amazing. Very edible smelling, and I think the motivation behind this fragrance was actually a dessert that Christian Dior actually really loved, and I think they perfectly captured that. Give this a solid 9 out of 10. Next, I'm going to talk about the brand new Dior Homme Parfum 2025. This one gets an okay from me. It's nothing groundbreaking, nothing new. It definitely has some iris like the other Dior Homme fragrances, but it has a lot of vanilla and a lot of sweetness. It honestly also really smells very similar to Jean Paul Gaultier's La Mel to me, and as well as Armani Code Parfum, the one that has the cardamom and the iris. So if you have either of those fragrances, I think this would be redundant. I do not recommend this one in my opinion, honestly. I think the other flankers are better. Next, we're going to go with Dior Homme Cologne, and unfortunately this is another fragrance that I would not recommend. There's really not much I could say about this one except that it smells like lemons. That's all you're getting with this one, and it doesn't even last. I think this stuff lasts maybe 2 hours, 3 hours tops. I only ever wear this stuff to the gym or when I'm just running out the house very quickly. So do not recommend that one. Dior Homme Sport, on the other hand, I 100% recommend this one. This is a spicy, woody fragrance that's easy to wear. It could easily be a signature scent. In fact, it was my signature scent for a while. Really love this DNA and would definitely recommend it. I give this a solid 8 out of 10 and definitely do recommend it. Next, I have my 2 Roja fragrances, and we're going to start with Roja's Oceania. Now, this is a beautiful, very fresh, very bright citrus fragrance that has a lot of florals. If you've tried Parfums de Marly Sedley, this is almost like a more floral version of that fragrance. It's a really good fragrance and it smells like you're sitting on a yacht somewhere in the Mediterranean. I love this one. Very fresh, perfect for the summertime, and I definitely recommend this one. I will say though, it is pretty expensive, so only get it if you can get it from a discounter. Do not pay full price for this one. Next, we're going to talk about Roja's Elysium. Now, Elysium is a weird one because I used to love this stuff as soon as I got it, but the more I wore it, the more I started to notice that this has an herbal note that I don't really like. It's a summer fragrance just like Elysium. It's a fresher fragrance, and it has one of the best openings of any fragrance in my collection. but as it dries down, you get a little bit more herbal notes coming through, which I do not like, and so I've started to wear this one less and less. So this one's definitely a try before you buy, so you don't make the same mistake as I do. Next, I got all of my Xerjoff, Sospiro, and Casamorati fragrances. I believe all of these belong to the same owner, so we're just gonna group them all together. We're gonna start with my least favorite, which is this Casamorati's Fiero. I got this as a gift, and it's just a very, very barbershop-like fragrance. It smells like straight up lemongrass in a bottle. And if that's your thing, then this one would be good for you, but I don't particularly enjoy lemongrass, so I would not recommend this one. Next, we're going to talk about Opera, which is a very, very underrated Xerjoff in my opinion. I think this is one of the best fragrances that contain the note of ylang ylang. It's just a very sticky, sweet, floral note, and it smells so good. It smells like Herba Pura, but a lot more sophisticated and a lot more dressed up. Next, we're going to talk about Sospiro's Vibrato, and everybody knows this fragrance. I've talked about it a bunch of times on my channel. Beautiful citrus, ginger, woods, and some amber even in this one. I think this is the best take on the Bulgari Tiger DNA, and if you are looking for a fragrance that has that DNA, I think this is the best one and the one you should go for. Perfect 10 out of 10 in my collection. Next, we have Xerjoff Snack Sauce, another timeless classic fragrance. For a time, this used to be so hyped up on TikTok around 2 years ago, and I think it still deserves the hype. Beautiful honey, lavender, and tobacco. Just timeless elegance, just like Dior Homme Parfum. This stuff just smells so clean, so elegant, and is definitely a fragrance I recommend. Next, I have all three of my Matiere Premiere fragrances. I actually have two more coming in that I bought last night. I bought Crystal Saffron and Radical Rose. Now, Matiere Premiere is one of those houses that's super, super underrated. No one's talking about this house, so I'm here to correct that. We're going to start with my favorite, which is Falcon Leather. Now, this is a leather fragrance done right. This is a beautiful, very strong, very raw, smoky leather fragrance. It's definitely the most masculine and one of the most polarizing fragrances in my collection, so I do not recommend blind buying this one, but if you love leather, you definitely need to try this one out, and it's a 10 out of 10 in my book. Next, we're going to talk about Cologne Sadrat, which is one of the easier fragrances from Matiere Premiere. This stuff just smells like photorealistic lemons and some mate, which works really, really well. The combination is absolutely beautiful, and unlike Dior Homme Cologne, this stuff actually lasts. So even though this is purely a lemon fragrance, it lasts a really, really long time. So if you're looking for a citrusy, easy to wear, versatile fragrance for the summertime, then look no further than this one. Give this a 7 out of 10, maybe even a 6, because it's not that creative, but it just smells good. Next, we're gonna go with Neroli Oranger. Now this one I definitely recommend. It is a absolutely stunning orange blossom and neroli fragrance. It smells so good, so clean, and it's just perfect for the summertime. And if you love the smell of like orange blossoms, then check this one out, because this is one of the best usages or the best notes of orange blossom I've ever tried in a fragrance. So definitely recommend this one. I give it a solid 8 out of 10. Moving on to my Kilian fragrances, I have two of them. One I absolutely love and the other not so much. And the one that I absolutely love has got to be Kilian's Smoking Hot. Now, to put it simply, this stuff smells like a double apple shisha or hookah if you've ever tried it. Smoky, apple, boozy. It just smells so good. I don't understand how anyone could hate this fragrance. The other fragrance I want to talk about that I really don't like is Kilian's Angel Share. I bought this because of the hype, and I honestly regret it, because this stuff is it's way too sweet. It is way too cloying to wear, and is honestly a little bit feminine in my opinion as well. So it doesn't really get that much usage. All the usage that I've had from this fragrance has been from my sister or from my mother, but I don't like this one. I don't think it deserves the hype, and I definitely would not recommend it. But I definitely recommend Smoking Hot. I'd give this a 5 out of 10 and Smoking Hot a 9 out of 10. Moving on to the big boys, the Louis Vuitton fragrances. Probably the most requested video I get is reviewing all my Louis Vuitton fragrances. But really quickly, we're going to go through them. So starting off with Afternoon Swim. Beautiful, beautiful oranges and some aquatic notes. That's really all you're getting with this one. Just a very well executed photorealistic orange. smells like you're drinking or eating oranges by the ocean. I do not recommend this one only because the performance is abysmal. It's not that good, and you're only gonna get 3 to 4 hours out of this thing. Next, we got probably the most underrated Louis Vuitton, and that's Louis Vuitton's Sur La Route. Now, this has a combination of almost everything on this table. It has that signature Louis Vuitton citrus with a lot of the other Louis Vuitton notes like leather and some oud, and it puts it all together and creates a magnificent fragrance that's perfect for all year-round wear. So to put it simply, this is a fresh leather fragrance that's not offensive, easy to wear, and definitely one of the most underrated Louis Vuitton fragrances. I give this a 8 out of 10 and definitely recommend this one. Now we're going to talk about Pacific Chill. So Pacific Chill over here, beautiful minty mojito and a lot of fruits. All I can really say about that one is it smells unique. It's very, very minty and very, very sugary. So those two have got to be notes that you enjoy for you to like this one. But I honestly think it's worth it. I really enjoy wearing this one, especially on vacations and in very, very hot climate. This one lasts a bit longer than afternoon swim. It lasts around 4 to 5 hours, maybe even 6 hours. So I definitely recommend this one. Next, let's talk about Louis Vuitton's Imagination. Is there really a need for me to talk about this fragrance? I absolutely love this one, as you can see by the dent I'm putting in it. Very easy to wear, very versatile, citrus, neroli, smells like a fancy hotel lobby or fancy hotel soap. Just very, very easy to wear. Love this one. Definitely recommend. 10 out of 10. Next, let's talk about Louis Vuitton's Ombre Nomads. Now, this is another 10 out of 10 fragrance. Beautiful raspberry and oud. Definitely heavier on the oud than the raspberry though. So it is a very dark and a bit more animalic fragrance than you're probably used to. But this stuff just smells so good, especially in the dry down. And I definitely recommend it. 10 out of 10. My latest acquisition has been this, and that's Louis Vuitton's Meteor. Bought this while I was on vacation to Madeira, and I absolutely love it. I don't think it's as good as Imagination. I think Imagination is definitely fresher, easier to wear. This one is spicier. No neroli in this one. It's more so smells like just laundry. So think spicy laundry. It still smells good, very easy to wear, very versatile and very easy to pull off, but just not as good as Imagination. I still recommend it though. I'd give this 8 out of 10. Next, we're going to move on to Parfums de Marly, which is probably my favorite fragrance house. I have 5 of their fragrances, and these reviews are probably going to be a bit biased because I just absolutely love their fragrances. But we're going to start from left to right, and we're going to start with Parfums de Marly's Carlisle. Now, this is exactly what I would call Batman's fragrance. This is what I imagine Batman would wear. It's a very dark, very sweet yet spicy, earthy vanilla fragrance. If you want something that's a little bit more mature and not as sweet and cloying, then definitely check this one out. Definitely recommend it. 9 out of 10. Next, we're going to move on to Parfums de Marly's Harriet. Now, this is probably the best tobacco vanilla fragrance on the market easily. Definitely beats Tom Ford's Tobacco Vanille for me. The opening is just so beautiful. It has a cherry-like opening and it dries down to this beautiful tobacco vanilla. The only bad part about this fragrance is that the performance is terrible. You're lucky if you even get 3 to 4 hours with the new batches, so I do not recommend you blind this one, even though it smells amazing. Next, we're going to move on to the best, the best summer fragrance to ever be created, and that's Parfums de Marly's Sedley. I've said it 1,000 times. This stuff smells like an ice-cold Sprite on a hot summer's day. It's citrusy, it's minty, and it's sparkly, and it just smells amazing. We're going to move on now to Parfums de Marly's Hautaine. This one is a very sweet oud fragrance. It has a lot of saffron in the opening and a lot of oud. It's definitely the least blind buy safe out of the bunch because of the oud, which is a very iffy note for some people. So I definitely recommend you try this one out. But this is just a very sweet oud fragrance that's not as animalic as most oud fragrances out there, and just what I imagine Middle Eastern luxury or Middle Eastern royalty to wear. So I love it, but I do not recommend you blind buy this one. Definitely try before you buy. And finally, we have Parfums de Marly's Layton, which is the first Parfums de Marly fragrance that I ever bought. And to this day, this is going to be the one I recommend to most people because it checks most of the boxes. It's versatile, it's mass appealing, and it's definitely a compliment getter. Especially if you're trying to buy your first niche fragrance, I think this should definitely be a fragrance you check out. It smells like an apple pie. It does have a little bit of a Vicks-like opening, but once that stuff dries down, it just smells like the most magnificent apple pie. So sweet, so mass appealing, and you'll definitely get a lot of compliments with this one. I give this one a 9 out of 10. Next, we're going to talk about my Maison Crivelli fragrances. I have 3 of them. Let's just get started with the most popular one, and that's Maison Crivelli's Oud Maracuja. You probably already know what this stuff smells like, but if you don't, this just smells like the most tart, most sweet passion fruit mixed in with some oud. It's definitely heavier on the passion fruit than it is the oud, so I wouldn't say that this is an animalic fragrance, but it's nonetheless a beautiful oud fragrance that I definitely recommend and a perfect 10 out of 10. Next is Oud Stallion. Now this is the one to get if you're not a fan of that fruity oud mix and you just want a purely oud fragrance, because this stuff has the same oud as Maison Crivelli's Oud Maracuja, just without the passion fruit. It's definitely a lot more animalic and a lot less versatile than Oud Maracuja. I wouldn't recommend you blind buy this one. Definitely a try before you buy, and you really have to like oud for you to enjoy this one. Next is probably the most complimented fragrance in my collection, and that's Hibiscus Mahajad. And to me, this stuff just smells like a very, very sweet peach iced tea. It's absolutely perfect for the summertime. Perfect for all year round even. This stuff just smells great, gets you a lot of compliments. And something that I will say about all 3 of these fragrances is that they last an absurdly long time. Each of these fragrances are going to get you 12 hours plus, and they just project like monsters. So whenever you do wear these ones, be careful with the sprays because they are absolute monsters and definitely room fillers. Next, we're going to talk about my 2 MFK fragrances, and that's Gentle Fluidity Silver and Grand Soir. Starting with Gentle Fluidity Silver. Now, I absolutely love this fragrance. I think it is one of the most underrated MFKs there is. To put it simply, this stuff smells like a gin and tonic. It's absolutely classy, elegant, easy to wear, fresh fragrance. I wear this stuff everywhere, whether I'm going to school, whether I'm going to the office. I love this. This is actually my 2nd bottle. I've been running through it, and I definitely recommend you try this one out. I give this a solid 9 out of 10. Next is MFK's Grand Soir. Now, I expected to like this one a lot more than I do. I don't know what it is. It's just, it seems like it's a very, very boring fragrance. It's all about the amber and vanilla, and that's really all you're getting with this fragrance. So even though it is a very well-made fragrance, you could definitely smell the quality and probably one of the best amber vanilla fragrances out there. I just think it's a little bit boring, so I don't really wear it much. I like to have a little bit more complexity with my fragrances, but I could see how some people really love this stuff. So I personally would recommend it, but if you do like your amber vanilla fragrances, then maybe check this one out. I give this a 6 out of 10. Next, let's talk about my ex Nihilo fragrances. I have 2, starting off with Blue Talisman, which is probably one of the most hyped summer fragrances of this year. Right off the top, you get a very beautiful, juicy pear note with this one, and it dries down to that beautiful sunscreen-like smell. And paired with the peach, that stuff just smells amazing. Definitely a compliment getter and a very mass appealing fragrance. If you're looking for a unique new summer fragrance, I'd recommend this one. I give it a solid 8 out of 10. The only thing holding it back is the performance is so-and-so. You can get around 5 to maybe 6 hours with this thing. Next is Ex Nihilo's The Hedonist. Now this is another take on that Bulgari Tiger DNA, just a lot less bright and a lot less fresh. I like to say that this has like a muted citrus. It's definitely a citrus, it's just not as fresh, not as bright. I like wearing this stuff to the office or to school, especially in the winter time or in the fall time when I'm missing my summer fragrances and I don't really want to wear a very bright tropical fragrance. This is the one I go to. I also think one of the most underrated Ex Nihilo, so definitely check this one out. And definitely a fragrance I recommend. So Ex Nihilo's The Hedonist and Blue Talisman, both are amazing and both are fragrances that I recommend. Next, we have the only fragrance from Byredo, and that's Byredo's Black Saffron. Now this is a fresher take on that Tuscan leather DNA by Tom Ford. I used to own Tuscan leather and I loved it, but I just thought it was very, very hard to wear and very hard to pull off. This fixes that problem for me. It's a fresher take, like I said. has a fruitier opening, and the leather is not as pronounced or not as strong as it is in Tuscan leather. I really enjoy this one, and definitely a fragrance I recommend if you're looking for an alternative to Tuscan leather. Check this one out. Next is City Rhythms 2654. Now this is one of the only coconut fragrances that I've ever enjoyed. It's a very sweet, very lactonic, milky coconut smell. I don't enjoy coconut fragrances much, but this really blew me away. It smells really good, really sweet. And if you're looking for a tropical coconutty fragrance that's perfect for vacations or for the summertime, I definitely recommend this. So 2654, recommend, give this a solid 8 out of 10. Next are my Creed fragrances. We're going to start with Green Irish Tweed. Now this stuff is awesome. It's green, it's piney, and it smells like you're in a forest while it's raining. Definitely an underrated Creed fragrance. I definitely think this is one of the best fragrances from their collection, even as good as Aventus. However, I do not recommend this one because for the price point, the performance is just not there. I'm barely getting 2 hours out of this thing, which is just a disaster. Next, Silver Mountain Water. Absolutely beautiful fragrance. Again, stuff smells so good, so clean. It's a citrusy tea fragrance that's just done so well. But again, it just doesn't last and is not worth the money. Finally, the big boy Creed Aventus Cologne. This is my favorite flanker from the Aventuses. I found Aventus to be a little bit too smoky. This one is a little bit fresher, a little bit less smoky, and just easier to wear. I love the Aventus DNA. Everyone probably knows what this DNA is all about. But again, I do not recommend buying this fragrance because it just doesn't last. Not as long as it should for the price, at the price point anyways. So definitely try and get yourself a dupe of this fragrance, or if Green Irish Tweed or Silver Mountain Water, whichever one you prefer. So for all my Creed fragrances, I don't recommend you pay the money for them. Next is my only Amouage fragrance, and that's Amouage's Reflection Man. Now this is a very simple fragrance, but done so right. All you're really gonna get with this one is a ton of white florals, and it's a simple, elegant, clean fragrance, and it smells like a well put together man that just takes care of his hygiene. I definitely recommend this one, and it's honestly the only Amouage fragrance that I enjoy. Moving on to Gustav fragrances, I have 2 of their fragrances, Imperial Valley and Hudson Valley. Starting with Imperial Valley first, this is a fresher oud and leather fragrance, which sounds like it shouldn't work for the summertime, but it does. Absolutely beautiful, 10 out of 10. Hudson Valley has that same oud and leather, but with a touch more florals. And in my opinion, this one is more feminine and more suited for the winter time. I give this an 8 out of 10. If you were to get one out of these 2 fragrances, I'd recommend Imperial Valley. So now we're going to move on to Argos fragrances, and we're going to start with Argos's Danae. This is a very beautiful, fruity, sweet, musky, and woody fragrance. If you love musk, you need to get your nose on this stuff because it is one of the best musk fragrances I've ever tried. However, I would not recommend blind buying this one as it could be a little bit polarizing. So definitely try before you buy. I give this an 8 out of 10. Next, Argos's Triumph of Bacchus. Now this has a cough syrup-like opening, which I'm not the biggest fan of, but once the stuff dries down, oh baby, this stuff just, it smells so good. It's like a sweeter, more fruity version of Parfums de Marly's Carlisle, which makes it a lot more versatile. And I definitely recommend buying this one. And I give this a solid 9 out of 10. Next, we have my 2 Stephan Humbert Lucas fragrances. We're going to start with the more popular one, and that's God of Fire. This stuff is all about the mangoes. Nothing else. I don't care what Fragrantica says. All you're getting with this one is mangoes. If you love mangoes, buy it. If you don't, don't. Give it a 9 out of 10. Next is Stephan Humbert Lucas's Sand Dance. Now this is a chocolatey, sweet, milky, and a little bit woody fragrance. When I first smelt it, this stuff just smelled like chocolates to me, but as I let it dry down, I picked up more in the woods and the oud. Definitely a very complex fragrance and something I really enjoy wearing in the winter time. However, I don't recommend blind buying it. I give it an 8 out of 10. Try before you buy. Starting with Nishane Ani. Now this is a beautiful citrus vanilla fragrance. It is also an absolute bomb. This stuff lasts so strong. If you love vanilla, if you love citrus, then definitely check this one out. And I definitely think it's blind buy safe. It smells really good. I give this a 9 out of 10. Next is what is probably the best rose fragrance ever created, and that's Frederic Malle's Portrait of a Lady. Some people say this stuff is too feminine, but in my opinion, it's not. It's perfectly unisex. I will say the opening is a little bit polarizing, a little bit dirty smelling, but just let this stuff dry down and I promise you, you're gonna have one of the best rose fragrances you've ever smelled. I give this a perfect 10 out of 10. Next is Mikelef's Gin Tonic. This is a very, very fresh green herbal fragrance. It smells like a combination of green Irish tweed and gentle fluidity silver. It's like perfectly in between. I personally love this stuff. I wear it to the gym and I get a lot of compliments with this one. And I do think it is blind buy safe. I couldn't see how this could be offensive to anyone. Moving on to Armani fragrances. I actually have 3 of their fragrances. I have Armani's Stronger With You Intensely, Stronger With You Absolutely, as well as the new Stronger With You Parfum, which I left back home. So we're just going to talk about these 2 for now. Armani's Stronger With You Intensely is one of the best sweet designer fragrances on the market. This is a beautiful chestnut vanilla fragrance. It smells like Christmas in a bottle. And fun fact, this was the fragrance that started it all for me. It was the very first fragrance I ever bought myself, and it threw me down the loop, down the hole of fragrances. So for sentimental reasons, this is going to be a perfect 10 out of 10 fragrance for me. Next is Armani Stronger With You Absolutely, and this is a sweet, a boozier, more mature take on that Intensely DNA. It definitely amps up the booziness. Can definitely pick up the difference on this one. It's also a little bit nuttier in my opinion. Still a perfect fragrance. I give this a 9 out of 10, and out of both of them, I have to go with Intensely because of the sentimental reason. But if I was being objective, I do think Absolutely is the better fragrance. Moving on to the rest of my designer fragrances, I don't have much here with me. I do have a couple back home, which I could talk about in another video. But for what I do have here, we're going to start with Dolce & Gabbana's Pour Homme. This is the new male version, and it was honestly one of the most unique designer fragrances I've ever tried. It smells like coffee and lemon. Yeah, I'm not saying that wrong. It smells like you're drinking a lemonade at a coffee shop, and it's just, for a designer fragrance, this stuff smells so unique and is just not your typical designer fragrance. If you love the smell of coffee, I definitely recommend you try this one because I've been enjoying this one. I give it a 9 out of 10. Next, YSL Myself Le Parfum. This to me is very, very similar to Amouage Reflection Man. I don't know why people think that's such an absurd take, but it really does smell like Reflection Man to me. It's just a little bit more blue, a little bit more fresher than Amouage Reflection Man, but it's essentially a lot of citrus in the opening that has a lot of white florals in the background. It smells like clean laundry and is a really, really good designer fragrance as well. I honestly think I'd give this a 10 out of 10, and between this one and Reflection Man, I think I would go for this one. Moving on to 8 Bob's Egypt. I don't think a lot of people know about this one, but it is a woody, musky fragrance that smells exactly like the name suggests. This smells a little bit dirty, which is exactly what I imagine Egypt to smell like, but there's something so nostalgic to me, or for me, with this fragrance. I still love it. Although I would not recommend it. So give this a 6 out of 10 for most people, but I still enjoy it. Next is Replicas by the Fireplace. Now this smells like marshmallows to me, and it's just a beautiful, very sweet, very edible smell. I am going to get a full bottle of this as soon as I run out of my tiny 30 ml, as you could see. Definitely recommend it. I think one of the best designer fragrances, even competes with Stronger With You Intensely in my opinion. I give this a 8 out of 10, perfect for the winter time. Next, we're gonna move on to Tom Ford. I have 2 of their fragrances, one from the private line or from the private collection and one from the regular line, I guess. We have Ombre Leather EDP. I love this stuff. This stuff is also a compliment magnet. People absolutely love it, especially in the winter time. And this stuff just, it smells like a leather jacket. It's really all I could say. It's also monstrous in terms of longevity and projection. Very, very strong. Definitely recommend it if you're looking for a beautiful leather fragrance. Next is the best date night scent, and that's Tom Ford's Noir de Noir. I don't even know where to begin with this one. It has a beautiful combination of wine, truffle, patchouli. I think there's even rose in this one. There's so many notes, super complex, but it smells dark and sophisticated. That's what I like to call it. Again, another 10 out of 10 fragrance in my book. Something I definitely recommend you try, and I think the only private Tom Ford fragrance that I think is worth the money. We're coming down to the last couple of niche fragrances. We're coming down to the last niche fragrances in my collection. We're gonna go from left to right, starting with Montebaco's Verano. Now this is a new pickup for me and I've been loving it. It's a very airy, fresh, citrusy fragrance. I like to say that this is what I imagine air on the top of a mountain somewhere in Switzerland smells like, because it's exactly what this fragrance reminds me of. It's citrusy, fresh, airy, very easy to wear, and lasts a long time. So I definitely recommend this one, especially for the summertime. Next, Blonde Amber by Clive Christian. Is there really much I could say about this one other than it's just perfect? Opens up with a beautiful, fruity, boozy opening and dries down to a magnificent amber and vanilla. This is why I think Grand Soir is boring, because it has that same amber and vanilla as Grand Soir, but with a lot more complexity. Next is my only Penhaligon's fragrance, and that's Mr. Sam. And I honestly only bought this fragrance because of the bottle. I know, kind of stupid, but it's just a really sick bottle. But I actually really did enjoy the fragrance itself. I do love it. It's a very masculine, very spicy, very woody fragrance. Definitely one of my favorite DNAs, especially for the winter time. So I also do recommend this one. I do think though the performance is not the best, so maybe try Halfeti, which I heard smells similar to this one. Next is a fragrance that was actually gifted, so I'm not gonna try and say that I bought this fragrance. I actually was sent this fragrance by the brand, but I did end up really enjoying this one. This is the Harmonist Hypnotizing Fire, which is honestly one of the best vanilla fragrances I've ever tried. To me, I think this is a better, more niche version of Replicas by the Fireplace. I don't know why, I just think these two fragrances smell pretty similar, except that this one just seems like it's higher quality and just a lot more mature than by the Fireplace. Give it a solid 8 out of 10. Finally, I have, I think, the most underrated niche fragrance ever. And that's Bois Imperial by Essential Parfums. This opens up very, very soapy, very fresh, but then dries down very woody. And it has a little bit of a metallic-like quality, metallic-like smell to it. I absolutely love this stuff. I wear it by itself and I love layering it. I've been layering this fragrance with a lot of my other fragrances like Imagination and Sedley, and they've been smelling so, so good. This is one of those fragrances that I can recommend to honestly anyone. And it's a great starter first niche fragrance to buy. It's only around $80 or $90, which compared to some of these other niche fragrances is very, very cheap. And finally, we have all my cologne fragrances. Now I do have more back home and I do have a lot more coming in, so stay tuned for that because I got some pretty hyped up cologne fragrances and we're gonna see if they're worth the money. But from the collection I have right here in front of me, we're gonna start with Zemaya's Taraf Black. This is a clone to Montal's Arabian Stanka, and honestly I prefer this one more than the original because I think the original Arabian Stanka is way too sweet, way too strong, and way too cloying to be worn. So I much more prefer this one. It has the same DNA but not as sweet and not as cloying. Moving on to Afnan's Collector's Edition Supremacy, or Supremacy Collector's Edition. This is a dupe of Aventus Absolu. Basically smells like mixing Creed Aventus with Sauvage Elixir. I really like this one, and the performance on this one is just insane. It is so, so strong and it lasts almost all day. So I definitely recommend this one, and I think it's one of the only clone fragrances that really gets it right and just is worth the money. I really, really enjoy this one. Next is Lattafa's Teriyaki Intense. Now this is not actually a dupe fragrance. It's an original creation by Lattafa, and it was actually perfumed, or like the perfumer behind it is the same perfumer around a lot of the fragrances in my collection, and that's Quentin Biche. For example, Bois Imperial, he made this fragrance, so it's the same perfumer, and it's, like I said, it's an original creation. It's not a dupe of anything. It smells so good. Has a beautiful plum note and then like a bunch of vanilla and a bunch of sweetness. It smells like a better, more niche version of Latafa Khamra, which I absolutely love. Moving on to my two Afnan 9 p.m. fragrances, I guess. We're going to start with the original 9 p.m. Now, this is a clone to Jean Paul Gaultier's Ultraman, I believe Ultramale, sorry. And it is a very, very good dupe. I personally don't enjoy that DNA, but I will say that this it gets it right, nail on the head, perfect dupe. So if you like Jean Paul Gaultier's Ultramale, don't buy it, buy this instead. Next, we have the new 9 p.m. Rebel. Now, this was sent to me, again, in all transparency. I didn't buy this one, but it really, really surprised me. It's a weird combination of notes, but to me, it smells like mixing Baccarat Rouge and Creed's Aventus, because it has that saffron-like note to it, and then it has also like a pineapple woodiness to it. So if you're a fan of both these fragrances, I think it's worth the money. And again, this one lasts a really, really long time. Down to our final three, we're going to start with Infinity Musk by Maison Alhambra. This, again, is a perfect clone to Musk Therapy. I actually bought this fragrance with my own money because I just really enjoyed it and I thought it was super close to the original. I used to own the original, but I just couldn't justify keeping it when I tried this fragrance because it just smelled identical and lasted just as long, even longer than the original. So I got rid of the original and I kept the clone. Moving on now to another very, very good clone, and that's French Avenue's Liquid Brun. This is a clone to Parfums de Marly's Althea. And again, I used to own Parfums de Marly's Althea and I got rid of it because I have this fragrance and because it's just a one-to-one. It's a perfect dupe. There's no reason to have both in your collection. And finally, there is Zemaya's Xerjoff blend. Now this to me is Latafa Khamra but on steroids. It smells so good, almost identical to Latafa Khamra, honestly. So if you have that fragrance, you really don't need this one. But if you run out of Khamra and you want a stronger, a longer lasting version of Latafa Khamra, I think this gets it right. Sweet, cinnamony, has that beautiful date note and smells amazing. Oh, that was a lot. That was honestly a lot of talking and a lot of yap. But I really hope you guys enjoyed this video. I really hope this video gave you guys some value. I really enjoyed making this video. I think this is one of the more fun videos I've ever recorded. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed it. Please like, comment, and subscribe as that really helps me out and makes me want to make more videos for you guys. And if you guys have any questions on any of the fragrances that I talked about today, please leave a comment and I'll try my best to get to you. And as always, I'll catch you guys with the next one. What's up guys, Editing Eamon here, and I'm currently just editing the video that you guys are watching and I'm replaying it and seeing that a lot of the fragrances I talked about I gave them a high rating and I just recommended a lot of them. And I just wanted to hop on here and make it clear to you guys that the reason for this is because I spent my own money on a lot of these fragrances. Like 99% of the fragrances you guys see or you watched me talk about right now have been bought by me with my own hard-earned money. So you bet I enjoy these fragrances. Like it's kind of a given that I have to enjoy the fragrances that I'm buying. That's the whole reason, right? That's the whole point why I have these fragrances. So I just wanted to let you guys know that a lot of the reason why I really love these fragrances and give them high ratings is because I genuinely love them. I think, like I said, 99% of these fragrances I bought. I have not been sent a lot of fragrances. And whenever I do get sent fragrances and I talk about them, I make it clear that, okay, guys, I didn't buy this fragrance. I was sent this fragrance. So I hope that just kind of clears things up for you guys and kind of gives you a reason as to why I'm rating a lot of these fragrances really high. But thank you guys for watching. Now, see you guys in the next one.